Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be looking at VeChain, its valuations against Ethereum, as well as the US dollar. Looking that VeChain is now starting to flatten out. Remember, if you do like this video and the other videos that I make on this channel, be sure to hit the like button down below and also consider subscribing. Right now, VeChain is up almost 6% against Ethereum, almost 7% against Bitcoin. And if we flip it to the daily, yesterday was not a pretty good day. Um, but we did recover fairly quickly. We wicked down to about 2,943 Gwei. And today we're rallying almost 6% against Ethereum. And if we flip it back to the weekly, you could see that we're at the same price ranges as that we were last week, where we closed the week before, and where we opened the week prior to that. And so you can start to see that VeChain is starting to flatten out. Macros, from the top, we've seen this massive capitulation against Ethereum. But now after this last capitulation here, seems like we're flattening out. The last time VeChain did this was around here. We talked about it around here, I believe. Before the 25% move up against Ethereum, VeChain started to flatten out. You could see that the last three red weekly candles were generally in the same areas. They were closing in the same areas. And so we had the assumption that it was flattening out, and then we saw this 25% move, and we said, "Oh, okay, yeah, that was the bottom," and it seems to be going the other way. Lo and behold, that did not happen. We went further down, and we're back at the same rodeo again. Now, VeChain doesn't necessarily have to flatten out. We could see instances where it doesn't flatten out like here. I don't know if you would want to say it's flattening out, but this last one was a pretty good example of it rallying, capitulate, and then an immediate bounce. You can see this was somewhat flat before the rally. In the last 5 weeks, you saw in this period VeChain really flatten out. With that said, VeChain doesn't need to flatten out to bounce. It can just bounce, right? If it comes back down into the buy region here, then that's a very good sense that that is the bottom, because it historically was the bottom. It is not there though, and it's hovering just above. I can accept that if it rallies from here, that this was the bottom, but I would prefer it to come back down to the bottom. The former can still happen because we haven't yet seen VeChain experience a full bull run, right? If we go back to the very beginning of VeChain, this was August of 2018, right? If we flip it back to Bitcoin, where was August 2018? August 2018 was already when Bitcoin was around $8,000, far from its prior all-time high of $20,000. So during that time, VeChain rallied, but then all the periods afterwards was during a bear market. And it wasn't until 2020 where we started getting bullish, and that's when we started seeing VeChain really push the upper limits of its chart against Ethereum. And so the theory is well, in a bull run, maybe VeChain's bottoms are not as low as they would be during a bear market. And because of that, that could be an argument to be made that this could very well be the bottom. I can't say for certain that it will be, but if it does start to flatten out here and then eventually turn it around, then that would be the answer, right? Um, Again, the dates required also play into effect here, where we take the length between the peak and the bottom right before the rally, and we get a range of 170 to over 200 days. Obviously, it's not the 168-day mark because we're way past that. Um, it could be the 196 days, in which case we'll be getting an answer next week or the week after. Yeah, the week after next week. And that would be the bottom. It could also be 217 days, in which case we wouldn't see the bottom finish until November 15th, the week of November 15th. Again, these dates are completely speculatory. You could then also make the argument to say, hey, maybe in a bull run, the lengths between the peaks are different. Um, and therefore, uh, we can't consider these moves. I would still consider these moves because it kind of gives us an idea of a rough estimate, right? You don't necessarily want to be buying from the peak like a month later, right? Where it's capitulated this much, but it has more room to go down, and also considering the fact of what Bitcoin was doing at the time as well, where Bitcoin broke the 20-week moving average, everything gets bearish. It's not a fun time. So, with that said, we still have a little ways to go. If you are someone like me, you're trying to wait as long as you can until for the chance that VeChain comes back down into the buy region, but that might not happen. And for my position right now, that's okay. If I miss the VeChain train, that's okay. That's okay. Um, if it comes back down into the buy region, then I will buy, and in which case I bought my ticket to go on this ride. But VeChain isn't a must have for my portfolio. I have other assets in my portfolio that I've accumulated during this period at more favorable historical prices than VeChain was a few months ago. Anyway, uh, looking at the US dollar, VeChain is still above the 20-week moving average, which is good. However, if you look at the VeChain USD chart, you'll know that the 20-week moving average isn't necessarily one to take into real consideration when looking for bullish moves, right? We broke it here, we broke it here, we constantly break There's no support at all with this asset. I believe you might be able to use the 50 week. I think. I can't remember if we use the 50-week moving average here. Oh yeah, we do. So you can see the 50-week moving average is a more reliable source of support for VeChain. And you can see here the last bounce, which resulted in a 20% move against the US dollar, bounced off the 50-week moving average. So there you go. The 50-week moving average can be a useful tool when indicating a bounce against the US dollar. Now, a bounce off the US dollar is great, but what I'm really looking for is a bounce off of against Ethereum. That will be the showstopper if I were to call it one. And I think that would be the more important chart to look at. Also, Bitcoin. I mean, if it's outpacing Bitcoin, then that's good too. But as of right now, it's not necessarily bouncing. We're continuing to make lower highs and lower lows, which isn't the greatest. Anyway, that's all for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.